Dharma is your duty to your own soul. Dollars make bigger dharmas doable. Make the most of your spins around on planet Earth. Welcome to the Dharma and Dollar Show with your hostess with the mostest, Kate Stillman. If you're repulsed by money, success, P&L statements, productivity hacks, don't listen. Stick to the Yoga Healer Body Thrive episodes released every Monday. But if you yearn for money talk, investments for your activism, real numbers in real time, if you want to get greedy for the good of all, stick around. And ask yourself before we begin, what do you want to make happen next?
Hello, it's Kate Stillman, and welcome back to the Yoga Healer Dharma and Dollars Show. On today's show, my newest best buddy, Nor Franco, who is now the integrator at Yoga Healer. We're following a integrator visionary model, and he has made the biggest difference in my team and in my life, being able to now have time to write books and record podcasts and have a life of my own. He's an amazing virtual manager. And so in this Dharma and Dollars episode, we talk about management, we talk about influence, we talk about leadership, and we talk about some of the key strategies that really make things work and how we found each other and how I was able to get things off my plate quickly and give him the reins and how he improved his health just in the first few months of working for Yoga Healer. So I'm hoping that this show changes how people think about what's going on with quote unquote offshore labor and remote teams and what's happening really in this global market of being able to find each other, people that want to work together, who can use their skills, who can work from home, and what happens when we take down boundaries and borders and really just open up the global marketplace. So that's what today's Dharma and Dollars episode is all about. Stay open-minded and you will learn so much. On with the show.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Grace, and this is Tracy. We are in enrollment, and we just wanted to talk to you today about why you should book a call with us. So there's a Have a Conversation call, it's called.
You definitely want to have a conversation with us. Even if you don't know what you want to talk about, you definitely want to talk to us.
Yeah. Well, and you don't have to, you're not applying for a course. There's no commitment here. We're very non-committal with this conversation, but then you'll want to make a commitment with us, probably
because everybody does. Let's be honest. Yeah,
totally.
You want to be our friend. You want to be in a course with us for sure. If not, if you just want to think about it, then just have a conversation with us. That's
exactly.
okay too.
That's okay too. We're really gentle on the first date, I think is what you're saying. Is what I'm hearing you say.
Okay, that was Grace and Tracy's attempt at creating a Have a Conversation announcement for the podcast. What I would like to say is just go to yogahealer.com/have-a-conversation and you can find out more. They are cool cats to talk to. I'll give them that. That's why they're on the team. They're amazing. Love you too. If you want to talk to somebody about your dreams and your goals, go to Have a Conversation at yogahealer.com. All right, I'm here with the I'm like, how do I even introduce you now, Nor? You're the integrator to my visionary. I'm the visionary to your integrator. Yep. I hired Nor back at the end of February. I haven't even told you this. I'd had a Joy Tish reading, which was an astrological reading back in early October, and they predicted this woman. She was like, there's someone male who's going to help you with a lot of the sort of financial and the day-to-day operations. And
really?
And then I forgot about it. I totally forgot until last week. And then I was like, oh, she was talking about Nor. So you came in and took over a lot of what I was doing in terms of team management, team leadership, and a lot of what I was not doing. Truth be told, but that needed to be done. And so I thought we could have a little bit of a conversation here on Dharma and Dollar Show. At least what I wanted to start with is as someone who's grown a virtual team, in some companies and some people's belief system, the idea of like hiring offshore contractors is like a negative. It's a bad thing. It's bad. It's like dirty labor or something is kind of how it's thought of. Like it's outsourcing this stuff that we should be keeping jobs in America. Like there's that argument. And then there's the argument of like abuse, of like, we're taking advantage of people. And all I have seen with the people that have been helping me over the years at Yoga Healer is that like, we just make each other's lives better, each other's families better. Like we just get healthier together. And it's actually is the little small businesses in particular that are starting to access the global marketplace of contractors that is actually creating much more of a healthy marketplace, because we're bringing our own personal ethics into the relationship, which might be very different than the large company's ethics. So will you just talk about your experience?
Cool. I think I should probably give a little bit of me. After college, I went into, as usual, the rat race of the corporate world, and spent more than 2 decades climbing the corporate ladder. And I did good. In fact, I was probably the youngest executive in the first company I joined. Other than the COO, the CEO, the child of the owner. Yeah. Not the chief operating officer, the child of the owner. So I was probably the youngest executive among them. And with that experience, I was able to look into business from end-to-end spectrum. Essentially, I was exposed to sales and marketing, operations per se, manufacturing, in production, accounting, finance, virtually everything, because I am assisting CEOs. And so when I opted to go on an early retirement more than 7 years ago, due to illness, I said, what am I going to do? And back then I was still doing my management consulting on the side. And somebody told me, why don't you bring your management consulting online? And I did just that. I created my own website. I've learned a few skills along the way and created my own website and started promoting myself on social media channels. That's why if you look at my profile, my Facebook profile, you will rarely see anything personal there. Everything is geared toward creating a sort of an audience, creating my brand. And so I started working with clients, and most of the clients that I encountered are from Australia and North America, and they're always looking for somebody to manage their virtual teams. All of them are neophytes, newbies, and they were hiring so fast because they discovered that it is cheaper to get people from other countries like the Philippines and India, because these are highly educated people. But at the same time, there's a problem of the language barrier, time zone, work ethics, and everything. And they were struggling on how to cope with that. Yes, they were saving a lot of money outsourcing these things, but at the same time, there were other issues and problems because of cultural barrier and things like that. And so I began to interact with these clients, help them out, and try to put processes in place so that when they get to hire these people, outsource these people, they basically fit in the context of their business. So that's how I started my management consulting, helping entrepreneurs develop, find the right remote teams, develop them, and make them competitive, make them valuable to the organization. And most of these businesses actually succeeded, and they stayed with outsourcing their staff over hiring people that are basically in their own country or in their own community. And it's an exciting thing.
It is. I mean, and it really, to me, brings up that there's remote team. There's like even just the mindset of remote team versus the mindset of outsourcing, right? And the mindset of remote team is remote is just a descriptor of team. Like team is the most important component and having a values fit with the people on the team, developing your people, like all of that is the same as if it was an in-person team. There's no real difference in terms of just the ethics and the values and really the ownership or the leadership of those that are developing the team. Whereas with outsourcing, the idea is like you can get something off your plate without a relationship.
Exactly, and in most cases, that's what's happening. And they thought that we can streamline this process, outsource this, but the key ingredient, you're right, it's creating those relationships so much so that even though these people are coming from the different corners of the world and coming from different time zones, speaking different language, but when they come together online, they are creating beautiful things. They're helping businesses, helping businesses grow and scale. And I've seen that happening, and I've seen that also happening with my other stubborn clients who basically hire and fire, because they're not committed to any legal contracts of sort.
Yeah, right. So, and I sense from some of the people that are on that are working now for Yoga Healer that used to work for other companies that they're really surprised about how it can be. Like that there can be care, that there can be professional development, that there can be like, I want to know how you and your family are doing, right? Because to me, there's such a the long-term cost of hire and fire. It's exhausting. It's horrible.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. It's costly in many ways: time, resources, money, efforts, the emotional angst that comes with it when you fire somebody, right?
Yeah.
When in fact, you're right. On that token, that there's actually no difference between having your people in the same room, in the same floor in a building, and having them get to talk to them online. With the technology right now, it doesn't really matter. And what really matters is that you are establishing a team. You're developing a team that is actually cohesive. They value each other. That they actually are caring for the welfare of the other, and it's looking at the whole thing, as a team.
Yeah,
I think that's the operative word. Team.
It is the operative word. It absolutely is. And whether it's remote or in person, I really think those are they're descriptors, and they're less and less applicable as more in-person teams are now working remotely anyways, because so-and-so's traveling and so-and-so's out of the office today and so-and-so, right? It's like the idea of like people ask me all the time with like the future of business models for, whatever, the yoga teacher, wellness person. It doesn't really matter the profession about being like in person or online. I'm like, the answer is that all companies are doing both, and you'll have to do both. If you're not already doing both, you'll have to do both. And if you're favoring one more over the other, like you're gonna hit different phases where you're gonna need to put more in person, and then you're gonna hit a phase where you're gonna be more online. And like once you get that, it's inclusive, right? Neither of us. The market isn't going towards more exclusivity. Evolution's not going towards exclusivity. It's going to more inclusivity, and that means we're going to use all the technology we got. We're going to use all the ways we can connect as possible, and we're going to use all that we can from how we know to develop teams to help organizations grow or ideas grow and spread. Right. So let's talk next about. I'm so fascinated in a way at Yoga Healer. We have people from a lot of different countries with a lot of different accents, with different religions, different cultural we're really on the surface, like we really don't have much in common.
We're like a mini United Nation of sorts. Like Irina is, for example, our business manager is from Greece, but originally from Serbia. And then we have Sophie, who is from Guatemala, and I
living in Brazil, educated in London. I mean, it's like
me. I stayed most of my time in my career life in Tokyo, in Japan, but I am from the Philippines, but I traveled a lot, and we have people from India, and it's just amazing, putting these people together in one place, and I think. What I sense there is that we were at Yoga Healer, we were able to develop a culture so much so that the members feel that they are actually belonging to a physical organization. Although I'm putting on a quote unquote a physical organization, meaning to say that you are in a one office in a one location. But in this case, we are virtually thriving virtually.
Yeah.
Forgive me, fun of words. That's how we are at Yoga Healer.
Yeah, and so
It's
people
just-
get healthier, right? I mean, describe even your path with like you started a couple months ago, and
for example, like me, by nature I'm a workaholic. I just work and work. When I wake up, most of my waking time is basically work, and whatever you shove in my plate, in my plate, you put in my plate, I gobble it up, regardless. Or I don't eat at all. Like I would just forget about it. I just sit in front of my computer, meetings after meetings, answering emails, etc., and talking with the teams, and it's just ridiculous. But when I started working with Yoga Healer, oh boy, I said, this is a different thing, entirely a different game, a different game. And I have to up my ante. I have to make some adjustment, not only with the time zone per se, but with the culture, and then in what we are espousing. We're espousing about holistic wellness. How could I fit in with that? I have a very imbalanced life. I stopped exercising and stopped running, and I'm not mindful about my what I'm eating. And to me, it's a wake up call joining Yoga Healer. Honestly, I haven't said this. It's a wake up call. In fact, a bit of my notes that I told you yesterday is that you actually made me you bring out the best in me. You made me rethink about my values, looking at life in a different way, looking at my body, my health in a different way, even my mind. And uh, I remember that I am a voracious reader, that I read a lot. Three years ago, I just basically stopped doing that. Most of my consumptions are coming from news that I read. I trail back on political news, political events. I love trailing back on that. I read a few blogs here and there. When I started talking to you, and you would mention authors, and that it's just I have those. I purchased those, and my library is filled with these books, and my Kindle is. And believe me, I began reading again. In my spare time, other than playing with my kids, I began reading again. I began being conscious about what I'm eating, and I have to tell my wife, "Hey, remove all this stuff." When we go to the grocery, I would make sure that I am pushing the cart with her and telling her, "I want these things, not these things. Remove these things and those things." The judgment. It's a radical change for us, actually. If my wife is standing here, what happened to you? You turned into a vegetarian? All of this. I, I said I have to walk my talk. That's basically it. And Yoga Healer has been a great influence. Yeah.
Well, and to me, it's. I mean, at first it surprised me because when starting with, I'm remembering a contractor I had years ago who was like Hispanic native people's mix heritage, and he would just do some business consulting with me on like web strategy. I don't know, this was maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and all of a sudden he's like, because he had access, everyone has access to the whole back end. So he's like, me and my wife, we're doing the yogi detox. And I'm like, sweet. And he's like, he calls me the next week. He's like, we lost 10 pounds together. I'm like, sweet. And then they got pregnant, and they'd been trying to get pregnant for years. And then, then, right. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. And now we've seen it time and again, even with consultants that work with the brand get healthier. So it's not even just contractors that are part of the team that we take care of, like team, right? But even and to me, it's so important that small businesses, even like the solopreneurs that are in yoga health coaching, that are considering, hey, I need a virtual assistant, or just the person listening who's got a bunch of stuff on your plate that you don't want to do, and someone somewhere else can do because they're good at that stuff, whether it's your bookkeeping or whether it's your taxes or whether it's really, I just keep a list of all the stuff I don't want to do, and I write things down and then I hand them off. But the sense of like, when for those of us who are really called to live in deeper integrity, when we are able to hand things off to somebody else, it actually helps that person live in integrity. And for Yoga Healer, it's all about wellness and thrive. But I mean, the core of it's really about thrive, just people
Exactly.
thriving, right? And when I see like, oh, that's what happens. So now I can guarantee an experience for anyone we take onto this team, right? It's like, oh, you're going to step more into thrive. You're physically going to get healthier. Your family is also going to get healthier because now we have enough data on that. Like even Maria's story last January, and Maria does, she's more of like course member support. And all of a sudden, her husband quit smoking. All of a sudden, the kids get healthier because there's no secondhand smoke. And she says, this never would have happened if I hadn't been working for Yoga Healer. And for her, if we look at the compounding effect of that and her family health over time versus her working a job she hates or working for a company that doesn't care, that doesn't help her thrive, that doesn't help her get healthier, right? And you see the trajectory of that over time. The husband keeps smoking. The husband then has more health problems. The kids have more health problems because of secondhand smoke. She's unhappy because everyone else is sick and unhappy, right? And you just see the trajectories of these choices. To me, it's so important that we actually take on a role of leadership, that we stand in our integrity, that we hire people to do the things that we need help with, and that we transfer our integrity onto them just by working with them as human beings.
Exactly. Influencing them little by little. And I think we are on the right track on that. That's what we are trying to do. And in fact, for Sophie, for example, she was very new with the team, but she was immediately feeling on how we operate, and it was just easy for her to jump in because she just saw that the chemistry is there. We are literally thriving in what we are doing. Everyone is confident. Everyone is trusting somebody is doing his or her job, and we are just supporting each other so that everybody is actually on the same page on what we are doing and what we are accomplishing. It's just amazing. And now I kept telling my wife that I'm so excited. How come you're always speaking about cake? I'm beginning to be jealous about that. You're always mentioning about cake, and I wonder what you're dreaming about. If you mention, I'm just excited about this. I never had an engagement or a client per se in this context in which it's more than when I wake up in the morning. I'm looking at my activities for the day. I'm looking forward to come almost midnight my time zone because I'll be at Yoga Healer. I'll be doing something that I believe is impacting lives, changing lives, transforming lives, and something that really makes a difference. And besides, a team that is it's just awesome. It's an awesome team. Especially mentioning Irina. She's like my nagging mom in a way. Because whenever I tell her, Irina, I don't feel this way and this, and she was give me a litany of what's need to be done, the Ayurveda way, the detoxing, etc., and giving me this recipe and all. I was just saying to yes, I'll do that. I'll do that. And first in the morning when my wife wakes up, and I'm about to go to bed, my wife wakes up and told her, could you please find these ingredients in the grocery? What are these things? Well, Arena said, who's Arena? And you have Kate, then now you have Arena. Well, just breathe it. But I felt good. I'm feeling good.
I'm so glad. And I just love what you brought up about influencing, that as business owners, as team leaders, as, for many people listening, as teachers, as parents, is like just realizing that we're influencing. I mean, and one of the tests that we use when we use the DISC profile, the I stands for influencing. I'm very, very high in influencing. There's different profiles we do for finding people for certain positions that have those natural strengths. But whether we're strong in influencing, someone like me I can talk someone into doing a lot of different things,
I saw that. I saw that.
Right. And I used to use that skill for, I mean, if I ask anyone about my teen years or my 20, like I was like peer pressure number one. Oh, so bad. I would influence people to do like the worst things with me. I was a troublemaker. Right. But we can use that we can all tap into like whatever our level of influencing are. We are constantly influencing each other, whether we're persuasive. And I have a persuasive personality, but not everybody does. But that doesn't even matter. That's so secondary to just realizing that however we're showing up is influencing the environment. So if we're showing up virtually, if we're showing up in person, it doesn't matter. Like that's just the descriptor. We're showing up and that's the action, right? And that in that, whatever state we're in, whatever level of desiring to communicate and connect we're in, right? That is what's going to get transferred into the space. And that's what's going to allow or not allow whatever's trying to happen. And I've sensed in the team, when you stepped in, all of a sudden people, I mean, this was really, really interesting too, because I can influence and I can lead through inspiration very easily. I can't manage very well. It's
that's a good addition.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the year. And so this is another component of this is realizing that for me to realize like people actually like to be managed because I don't.
Yes.
Right. And so
You're rebellious.
I'm rebellious. Right. So it's like if someone's going to tell me what to do, I'm probably going to work really hard to do the opposite. Like that's my MO. Mm. But for me to realize, especially the best support people that we've developed in the beginning, that we were underserved. I was underserving them because of my lack of ability to hire the kind of person that could manage at the level that we needed. And then you come in with all the skills in leadership and management, and all of a sudden, people who are performing averagely start to perform better and better, and start to get more excited about how much we appreciate that they're performing better. So they start to actually bring in their own ideas. They start to develop much more of a creative capacity, right? As they realize that they can influence where we're going and that they actually want to, and none of that could happen. And my point here being like, none of that could happen because of my deficit in management. And we all have deficits in other areas that are hurting whatever we're trying to do, whatever we're trying to make happen in our Dharma. When we get back with the second half, Nor gives you his best advice for leading. It doesn't matter if you're leading your team, leading your family, leading yourself. You're going to take your own leadership skills up a notch listening to Nor. This episode is brought to you by Yoga Health Coaching. The next level of your wellness career requires diet and daily habits coaching. For the next level of being a wellness leader, you want a colleague community that is at the level of engagement and the level of success you want to operate at. You want a community to engage and stretch your potential. Impact and income go hand in hand. That is why both components get equal face time in my 15-month Yoga Health Coaching certification training. We're enrolling our 2017 future yoga health coaches right now. Space is limited and we sold out spots in 2016. So if you want it, you better get on it. I am known for igniting ambition in future wellness leaders, make a stand for healthier communities, and earn according to the results you guide your peeps into. That is the core of Yoga Health Coaching. Start with this free 1-hour training. Your next step is to go to yogahealthcoaching.com/coach and get your free training. So talk a little bit about the role of management to enable people to step up.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite subject matter, actually. I remember my first job. I was a training supervisor and I was teaching. I was fresh out of college and I was teaching this bunch of salespeople about management. and what I'm teaching them about management is directly a textbook philosophy of management. But when I through the years I was able to learn a few things, especially for those who mentored me also, that if you want to become an effective manager, you have to be a good manager yourself. You cannot separate that. And that's why your admission that you said you're not a good manager, that would be your sort of weakness. But your core strength is on leading, coming up with vision. But a manager is simply different. A manager should set an example in every way. The way you systematically approach problems, the way you talk to people. And to me, the key thing for an effective manager is being able to contextualize, meaning to say that when you manage a person or a team, you get into their system, into their mindset. You if you want to transform them, you have to transform them from within rather than becoming an external force, because if you do that, they will resist you. But when you come in at their level, you become a part of them, either on an individual level or on a team level, then they begin to sense that you're actually influencing them in a different way, and they will follow you because you're setting a good example. In fact, leadership is like that also, but it's just that in management you have to be be an example of yourself, that you are systematic in many ways, that you're able to manage your time, that for example in attending meetings, that you are ahead of the pack, you are ahead of everyone else, that you come in before everyone else is coming in. But when you're always late, you're always canceling the meeting, well, I don't think you're a good manager or repeater to manage, because in that way you're not managing by example. In leadership, you can say somebody, hey, do this, but be really immune into what you are saying, right?
Yeah.
In a national scale in the US, we know that anyway. Going back in management, people look up to you. They look up to you as an example, and that's very critical. And so when you approach managing a team or a project, you have to be really careful about setting good examples and precedents on the activities, the day-to-day activities, in carrying out tasks, in delegating tasks, in talking to people and everyone. Again, you have to contextualize. You set an example and you contextualize.
Yeah. I mean, one of the, just listening to you, I'm like, oh my gosh, one of the biggest regrets I have, and I'm big on regret. I just, as an emotion, I think I'm bigger on regret than a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually writing, I'm writing Awake Living now, so I was writing about the function of regret, of being able to look back and be like, oh, if I had learned that then, that would have avoided like that problem and that problem and that problem would not have come up, right? And so, wow, now if I can own my regret, I can actually breathe into that. I can learn, right, what I need to learn from you, from other people in this, and then going forward, I'm not going to be creating the same pattern, right?
Yeah,
so
or the same mistakes, right?
And when I look back at how I didn't take the time, and the reason I go into this, you guys, is like I'm at a place where I don't have to do a lot of things I don't want to do anymore, like, and that's freaking amazing, and I love it. But there's a phase in business growth where you got to do it all. I mean, or you get venture capital, right? And good luck, and that's not most of the people listening, right? But for the most part, like, you're going to end up doing a lot of things that you're not good at in developing skills. And I wish I had actually, like, very early on, when hiring my very first virtual assistant, taken like $100 course or taken a Udemy course or whatever, which I've now done on managing. Because for those of us who that's not an intuitive, even to those of us who are leaders like I am, you think, oh, you're a good leader, you're probably a good manager. Nope, probably not. Right, as we know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so then learning, like, okay, there's a skill set that goes in with it. There's what Nor just said about setting the example, which means not canceling meetings, which means the kind of behavior you want to see in meetings is the kind of behavior you show up with, which doesn't mean you get to be, neurotic or throwing a temper tantrum or all the things that I've done. I'm so not proud over the years, or canceled meeting after meeting. I don't know if you know this, Nor, but Liza worked for me I think we worked together for over 18 months without actually having a conversation. Like, that's
really,
yeah. It was all texts. It was all bad, because I'm just I was so checked out, so wanting to outsource, so wanting to just like delegate it and forget. I mean, you know me. I'm like, I'm going to go do what I want to do. But yeah, if there was like any little advice I'd give, is just if you don't have the skill set that Nor just described, that you like press stop and rewind and go back and listen to that a few times and then start to read books on that and take little trainings. Any recommendations for people? I mean, I love that we have an account with Linda, because I actually got a lot of management, just really quick trainings out. Super basic, but that's what I needed, was super basic. Any other recommendations for someone who's hiring a virtual assistant to learn how, even for the yoga health coaches that'll be listening, to learn how to work with a person, to be a good manager?
Good that you asked. First and foremost, everything begins with hiring the right fit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you made a mistake to that, all your efforts are fruitless. It's like going upstream. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to spend hiring the right people to join your team. And with that's where you begin developing the relationship. To me, I always liken hiring people into marriage. Although some marriages or most marriages end up in divorces, right? It's some of those are inevitable, but essentially, it's like finding that lifetime partner when you look at a person. A person that Yeah, and with that, you have to ask these two questions. Number one, does this person's values, his perspective about life, his worldviews, his persuasion, his experience, values as a whole, all of those things, all of those ingredients, fit exactly or jive or align with your values? That's the first thing you need to ask before you get somebody in. And the second, which is again a Siamese twin. I love Siamese twin. Is the skill set. To me, the skill set is does the person can do the job. Do the job. It's not necessarily be the greatest, the most talented, because most likely you'll find talented people, the right experience, education, and skills, but they don't fit number one. They don't have the values. So to me, you need to put this in a balance always. And I always go for the first. Why? Because the skills can be learned easily. Values, it takes a lifetime to develop values.
Yeah.
That's why this personality profiling is a very important tool. And not only that, there are a lot of other tools out there, Myers and Briggs.
But they're all secondary. I mean, this is so big. I mean, so I found you. It's kind of fun how I found you. How I found almost everybody. Right? Is I go into Upwork, I put a job description in, and then I see what happened. But what the difference between when I hired you and when I'm trying to think of like the last person I'd hired, is I'd been through this training with Infusionsoft where we had really codified the values at Yoga Healer. And then I created the values-based questions that would help us filter out hires, right, for our values. And that took forever. And then we had Sunil create a really cool infographic on it, and Irina, then Irina took over the values questioning for any new hire, with the exception of you, because I was like, I no one can hire this person except for me. So I posted the job description, and then I had two questions.
Yeah.
Remember? And they were both values based questions.
Yeah.
And so by the time you and I got to interview, which was like more or less instantaneous, I posted, you responded. I'm like, that's the guy I want to talk to. You were the only person I talked to.
I noticed.
Right. And all we talked about really for the first half hour was values and
exactly
where you were going with your life.
Yeah, I remember that. And I remember the questions about, candor and care, balancing that. How do you approach that, And you gave a scenario about talking to an employee, who is misbehaving or underperforming. And how do you approach that with the man? You speak with candor and care. You deal with that in candor and care. And wow, I said, to me, it came just naturally because, again, I'm always operating in context. It's always in context. I'm sensitive to, after working with remote teams for the last 7 years, I became so sensitive about cultures and language and try to put a balance on, at the same time, getting the results out of these people, but being sensitive to their feelings, their background, and their culture. And with that question being posed to me, how do you balance candor and care and deal with a situation like that? And I just love that discussion. I just enjoy that doing that. And then when we were able to tee up to discuss about the role, we zero in on values, and I just love that. There was no me trying to impress you that I have this experience and all, and you
Yeah.
see that you have this business. No, we never talk about that. In fact, when you asked me to talk to the other people that you wanted me to meet, I just simply told them, hey, if you want to talk to tell Kate, give Kate a feedback, just let her know that don't hurry on this thing. Let's spill out and see, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and here I am.
And here you are. And we've had, your onboarding and our ability to start from a place of deep resonance and deep trust was immediate. And I know the feedback that you gave me when I was like, basically I handed the team over to you and I'm like, Nor's now your boss, and he's going to be telling you what he needs from you from the get-go, so that he can start to find out who you are and what you're doing, because he doesn't know. And I'm not going to teach him because I was never good at that in the first place.
So you never teach me anything.
Right. I didn't do any training with you. None. Like, or any onboarding, zero. Right. I did exactly what I do, which is check out and do my thing. But what was amazing, and I'm trying to reduce that word from my vocabulary, but it was remarkable, astounding, was because of the values fit, even though we've never met, right? We live half a world away. We're in different time zones. We're in different cultures. We're different religious background, right? Like we're different sexes. We're different demographics in every context possible. The field of trust and resonance was there from the get-go, because we started with what was most important first. This is like, how do you deal with the trickiest human situations possible? Are we on the same page here? Can I learn from you in this area, and can we connect? And so then I already knew you had skills, right? Or we couldn't have had the conversation.
Yeah.
But then the access to your skills then your skills become my skills, because we have that level of trust. So then I hand the team over, and now they're getting leadership like they haven't gotten before. They're starting to grow and evolve. They're building trust with the yoga healer even more, because there's someone that really is connecting and caring and helping them do their jobs better. And what you said to me after all this was, I've never had someone really give me the reins so much so quickly before.
Exactly. Yeah, never had. Usually, my CEOs, the CEOs that I've worked with for the last, counting the years, almost 3 decades now, offline and online, they would normally give me a month or two and nudge me. This is how things work. These are the protocols. This is who I am. This is what you need to do. This is how you should understand me and all. But with you, it's just like, you push me into the ocean with a lot of sharks swimming, and I have to learn how to swim with the sharks. I don't know, it's a poor analogy, but exactly that's what it. And to me, it triggered a sense in me that, hey, this is an opportunity in which I am given this trust, and I have to step up. And I guess my trainings and my experience just was triggered by that event. I was reading this book by Donig, who is the author of Power of Habits, and he came with this another book, Smarter, Faster, and all.
Oh yeah,
and he had a lot of cases. I bet you read that book. And
Charles Duhigg. Yeah, Smarter, Better, Faster. Yeah, I did read it. Yeah, that's what's crazy too. We have read, when we bring up books, like we've read like 80% of what each other's read, which is crazy. It's just weird. You're like, you read that? Oh yeah, I read that. Yeah. Okay, so go on. Duhigg.
Yeah.
Smarter, Better, Faster.
Duhigg, in some cases that, there were some experiments, I couldn't remember exactly, but the principle being is that when you put people in a place of trust, they shine.
Yeah.
They get out of their shell. And suddenly, it's like they feel like they're Superman. They can just accomplish anything because of that trust. And that's why in Google, a 3-year-long experiment and survey studies, they discovered that trying to study high performing teams, what's common among them? Is it good managers? It is because they have a perfect combination of talent and very PhD holder team members. They said that there's nothing in there because this team is performing well, and also this team is performing well, and yet their composition is different. What's common? And they look at the in another way, and they found out that what's common is psychological safety. That's where they realize that it is because in those teams that are really high performing, regardless whether they have an enigmatic leader or manager, it is these people trust each other. If people can speak out and make mistakes, and no one will be judging them, and they're just phenomenal in many ways. And I remember when you thrust me into that ocean full of sharks, it's just, it's,
It's more of a sea of chaos.
yeah, well,
I think it's more of a sea of chaos than an ocean full of sharks.
sea of chaos, yeah. And you just turn on a switch and it's a different thing. It's a different experience. That's why I kept telling you I just saw everything coincided. Well,
Yeah. And for me too, right? So now I'm able to actually write and podcast and be in a creative visionary flow for the first time ever. And so to me, it is. And I was talking to my dad about it. I saw him a month ago. We ended up walking around. I was at that training at Icon at Infusionsoft, and then we went and we were walking around the town, and we ended up sitting watching the end of this baseball game. And he was an international businessman. He was in software, hardware, then software development.
Wow.
And he's almost, what is he? He's around 80. He's almost 80. And so he really grew up in that era, in that industry. And he ended up at the very end of his career, he's kind of like turning around teams in Asia. So these companies that had, an office in Singapore or Tokyo or whatever, and they'd send him to go, make things work better, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was telling him about what's going on with Yoga Healer and the team and whatnot. And he's like, you've got to write a book on that. He goes, forget Awake Living. He's like, you got to write, he's like, forget this Body Thrive stuff. And he was my proofreader for Body Thrive. He's very proud. He did a great job, and I'm proud of him. But he's in that, and part of what I'm saying is like these skills of being able to build team and build trust without needing to meet in person. Like these are the skills of the future. Like these are the skills that we need. And they absolutely do translate then into how we greet our neighbors. They translate into how we take care of our kids. Like it translates, absolutely. But there's this gap. And that's why I'm glad we had this conversation, Nor, and I just want to bring it full circle to that first part that we talked about with, virtual teams have gotten a bad name. Offshore labor and outsourcing, they've gotten bad names. And I want to turn that around because what we're doing is amazing. And we're all getting healthier together. And when I see what's happened to Maria and Liza and Irina and even Sophia coming in and just instantly being like, oh my gosh, I found my home, like in a month, and just being like, I never heard of you. And now I'm home. Like I found, like, wow, how did we find each other? And it feels cosmic and it feels amazing. To me, this is this evolutionary edge of a global marketplace and global teams. Whereas if we figure this out for us, we're helping it's like we become so much more of a globally conscious business, which is what the world needs, is these, globally conscious leaders in business, because the multinational corporations did not figure this out. And them offshore, right? They did it all wrong. And we're in many ways taking people that have been abused by these sort of offshore outsourced relationships, and we're rebuilding their sense that they can work from home and they can have the life they want, and that the human connection is the most important thing.
Precisely. If I'm going just to have my way without being sensitive to people's internet bandwidth with our staff, I would require everybody to be on a face-to-face video all the time.
Yeah.
Because of just that limitation, I'm not imposing that. The reason being is that we can actually connect in this way and create a thriving organization that can actually compete globally with your teams coming from the four corners of the world, and they're just synergistically creating things, doing things that is benefiting a lot of people and transforming lives. What we're doing here is actually transforming lives. Yeah, and I don't know how I put it. I'm just, it just excites me just to think of those things along that way and what we are actually doing, and this is a good example for our community. They get to see that, hey, Yoga Healer is doing it this way. I can do it with my own team, right?
Yeah.
And become successful and help my people to strike a balance between career, business, work, and life, and thrive.
Yeah, and thrive. Awesome, Nor Franco. It's been a blast. I'm so glad that we found each other, that our cosmic paths connected.
Yeah, I'm so glad too, Kate. I'm so glad.
We love our podcast listeners. Please share the show with people that you think could really be affected by opening their minds and opening to new ways of thinking about their own leadership skills, their own management skills. We love you, longtime podcast listeners. Thanks for sharing. And don't forget, you can ask a question or leave a comment for me to play for all the other podcast listeners out there at yogahealer.com/ask. And another quick reminder, if you ever want to talk to someone on our team to find out how our free resources can help you, go to yogahealer.com/have-a-conversation. I have an amazing staff of coaches who love to talk to people. And so give them a call, yogahealer.com, have a conversation.
Yoga Healer Real Life Show with Kate Stillman. Yoga Healer.